Hello everyone, welcome to episode 1 of the first season of Logan Chops Reviews. This week we have for you Infinities, Defiance of Fate in our preview corner. This game is a game for 2 to 4 players, plays in about 20-30 minutes per player, and it's for ages 13 and up. It's a strategy card game with some tactical wargaming mechanics where you take on a faction of aliens that's vying for control of a section of the universe. And there's 2 different modes of play. There's a skirmish mode and the adventure mode. Skirmish mode is where you're playing for a certain amount of points, and adventure mode is where you play more of a campaign style based on the adventures in the book. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at the setup and the different pieces of the game, and then we'll play a quick round of the basic game that gets you familiar with the different rules, and we'll go over a lot of different stuff. Afterwards, we'll get to the good, the bad, and the ugly part of the review. So go ahead and stay with us for our first episode of the year. Let's go ahead and bring this game to the table.
Right, now you got to remember that most of the pieces here are prototypes for the game. None of the artwork is really finalized. Some of the components can change depending on what happens in the Kickstarter. So we're going to go through and look at a couple of the pieces. We're going to go through the setup, and then we'll change camera views for me and GothyLox to play a quick game. So you can see I've got my player mat right here. It's W-01A, the World Shaper. GothyLox has hers. Let me see yours real quick on her side table. And she's going to be doing setup as I'm doing it also. You see she's playing Orin, who is the Master of Ash. So she's playing the Lightbringer faction, and I'll be playing the Diva faction. You see, we'll go through different stuff on the player mats here in a minute. Just want to go through a couple of the components. So go ahead and pass that back over to her. I've got my player pawn. I've chosen the blue color. GothyLox will be playing the red pawns. So I've got that. I've got my red, blue, and green tokens right here that'll go on my player board to signify. The red signifies power, the blue signifies tide, and the green signifies the fortitude abilities, which are kept track on this side of the board here. I've got my number tokens here to keep track of points during the game. Got little circles that are used to keep track of health on my units that I put into play in my group. And I've got these are gambit tokens used to activate different player abilities for my my leader here. We also got the 10-sided dice. We've set it to 0. While we're doing setup, it'll be set to 1 during the round. This is one of the things we'll talk about it being a prototype. This is just a simple cheat sheet for setup and for different tile events, blocking, well, shorthand, because a lot of stuff on the player sheets is in a shorthand form, so we'll be going through that. Got my stack of tiles here, because we'll be playing them whenever you move. We'll be putting out tiles, and each tile has different abilities on it. As you can see, the number on the tile is your determines your ranking, where you're at, and it'll determine your turn order too, whatever tile you're on, because the turn order will change every single turn. And a little symbol up here has a different ability. Each tile has a different ability. So you can see the leaf here. If I look at my little cheat sheet right here, you can see the leaf abilities. So at the end of the turn, I can replace a vacant tile and shuffle its stack. So I can put a vacant tile that's on the board. I can put it back in the stack, shuffle it up. So I'll go ahead and put that back on top of my stack. We've got our dice here, and I'm told that these dice have stickers for the abilities. That the actual dice in the game the symbols will be engraved in the dice. You can see we got red for power. Let's see, where's blue for tide right there. Green is fortitude. The star can be used as any of the die rolls. Let's see, where's this? This is the gambit symbol right there, and the circle is health, and the circle can also be traded in for different stuff. We'll go over that in a minute. I've got my turn order sheet right here, so because it'll change. This is set by descending tile number right there, and alphabetical order breaks ties if there's a tie in the number. Okay, so we've got our assets basically all set up. Gothy's got hers on her side. So once you gather together the assets, I should also show you. Got my rule book right here for the game Infinities right there, and also at the beginning when you're gathering up your assets. If you're playing the adventure, which we are, we're playing a skirmish, but there's a adventure mode. You got the adventure guide right here. It's got the different scenarios, background about the worlds, and everything. We're going to go ahead and set that aside because we're not playing the adventure. But when you do the adventure, you get your little plot point tokens. And also the game comes, you saw our 2 player mats, so the game comes with a collection of different player mats. You see this placeholder artwork. You know, for the Lightbringer, for the red ones are Lightbringer factions, the blue ones are the Diva factions. Okay. So we'll go ahead and put those over there. So after you gather the assets together, you're going to go ahead and ready the decks, which I've got my deck here. So you ready decks by shuffling, and then you turn over the top card to start your discard pile. Just to show you a couple of the cards here and how they are. The number right here, this is a unit. So whenever you play units, they go above your card right here. You can see right here on my card, it says group. And I can have up to 4 cards. That's what these little squares right here. I can have 4 units in my group. And they'll go above there. So my units, if I want to play for my hand, it costs 1 right there, which is tide. 1 tide to place the unit out there. Up here, you see it's got the power symbol, so it'll actually increase my power on my player card. Because when we start out, you put your power right there on the bottom ability, you put your tide right there on the blue spot right there, and your fortitude right there in that one. And whenever you play units out, if it has a symbol on there, it'll actually go up on your track, which will unlock different abilities for your leader to play. It also has the 2 circles there, so it has 2 health. So if I were to play this into play, I would move my red one up there, and I would put 2 health on this unit, just to keep track of what goes on with it. Okay. Also, they have different abilities. You can see, like, this is a shifting drone, and the ability says, after a leader blocks you, you can make a tide check to discard 2 cards from their hand. This is fated if you're, I'm blanking on the name of the influence. I'm sorry. If your influence is greater than your target. So these are the influence number on the tile. You can see the rift tile that you start out with in play has an influence of 1. That one that I showed you earlier has an influence of 3. So if it's fated, and we'll go over what fated is when we start our playthrough. So this is your unit. The other type of card that you have is an ability card. These ability cards here like this. This is a Deviance Correction. You draw an active Diva network card, and it can be prepared. If it's prepared, it means it's in your timeline, which is on the side of your building. Let me move these tokens off here. When you play into your timeline here, they go to the right of your board. And you can prepare cards for later on. That way you don't have too many cards in your hand, because you see down here, you can only have 5 cards in your hand during your turn. If you get more than that, you have to discard. So you can play them out, and you can prepare 3 cards to your timeline, and they'll go to the right over here. So you can see the Deviance Correction right here says prepared. You can spend, and that symbol's for any die. You can spend any die to play a card from your hand, then you destroy this card. So that would go over there. So those are 2 different types of cards. You have your units and your ability cards. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up real quick. Oh, I think I had an upside down card in there. Oh, yep, right there. Okay, we'll go ahead and shuffle up. We'll put this off to the side, and we'll flip over 1 to start my discard pile. And Gothy's going to do the same on her side, so that she's with me as we play. Then you open the rift, which is basically you put the rift tile in the center of the board. Then all the other tiles will be connected to the rift tile. Well, the starting ones will. If you're in adventure mode, you use the adventure guide to determine, which chapter you're playing and what happens here. But since we're going to be playing a skirmish, we're not going to worry about that. Set the adventure stuff to the side. Next is exploration, which each player selects 1 tile from their tile group. So I've already, like I said, I'm going to be playing, my first tile is going to be the subterranean lake. And you can see around the sides of the board, they got these black borders. These are walls. So you want to orient it, connect it to the rift. where it's connected, but you'll be able to move into it because you can't move into the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and connect mine to the rift right there. Take my player token, I'll put on the rift, and it's going to actually move into that because I'm going to start on that tile right there. So Gothy's going to choose her tile to start out. Here, let me see it real quick. You can see she's got 8 Graveyard of the Ancients. It's got an influence of 2, and it's got the little kind of like a sun symbol right there. If we look at our little sheet right here, so at the start of turn, she can lock in 1 star die. Wait for the focus right there. So she's gonna orient it. How do you have it like this? Sure. Okay. So right like that on there, and then we'll both move our tokens onto those tiles right there. Gothy's red token right there. Over there. Now we determine turn order. Turn order is determined by highest influence to lowest influence. You can see I've got 3 on my tile. Gothy had 2 on hers. So you take one of your gambit symbols right here and place it on the turn order. So since I'll go first, mine goes there. We'll get influence from Gothy's pile over there. She'll be second. And turn order changes at the beginning of every single round. I'll go ahead and place that off to the side right there. And now it's usually leader selection. We've already chosen leader. I've got mine. Gothy's got hers. So skirmish mode. After that, we go ahead and choose a scenario from the deck. We got a different stack. Where the stacks of scenarios go? They got a stack of a bunch of different scenarios here. Flashpoint, trenches, and they got different abilities or different points on them. You can see on these, during the round, if you want to access a 2-point goal, you have to first pass the 1-point goal. Like here for Flashpoint, you have the target and ability on an adjacent enemy. So you get 1 point for that. And once you get that point, it unlocks the 2-point one, where if you do that ability second, you'll get 2 points, totaling up in 3. And then you keep going every round. And that's basically the point of the game, is to try to get the most points by the end of the round. Now, each game me and Gothy have played, she's gotten the most points. We'll see how we go in this game. For this one, we're going to be playing Initiation, which is a good starter one. Usually the games play over 5 rounds. This game only 3 rounds to kind of teach the rules, learn everything, get it going on. You can see our 1-point ability here. When you activate a gambit ability or an action, you'll get 1 point. It'll unlock the 2-point ability to play a card using a standard tide action. Alternately, you got the 1-point ability to if you destroy an enemy's card, you'll get 1 point, and then I'll unlock the 2-point ability where you flip the enemy's tile. You'll be able to gain those 2 points, and then at the end of the game, if you have X active cards, you'll get that many points for being on the board. Active cards are the ones that are in play. So we've got our scenario right there. We'll be playing Initiation. We're going to do our initial draw, which is 5 cards. So go ahead and draw me 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 off the top of the deck right there. Let's see what I've got. Okay, I've got a couple of abilities. 1 unit. Okay. And next we'd go to deployment. And that's where we're going to be switching the camera angle so you can see the whole entire board, how we're playing. But I wanted to go over a couple of things with the player boards that I was talking about. You see these abilities on the left-hand side right here. They're all shorthanded, but it's okay. Your reach is how many tiles away you can be from the enemy's pawn token and still be able to affect their groups, their units that they have in the play. You see your reach, and these are just good little reminders on the board here. The reach is 3, so 3 tiles away. We'll go over the abilities here. You can see you all start off in the bottom row, and they'll go up as you play different units. You see right here, you can spend any die to draw 2 cards. You can spend any die to gain 1 gambit, and you keep track of your gambits here in these 5 spots on the bottom of the board. And you can spend the circle. If you spend one of the circle dice, you can actually use it as a tide. See a little tide symbol they got right there. and they go up. As they go up, everything is cumulative. So you still have access to these abilities down here as your tracker goes up. You can say if your red tracker was here, you can lock in a power die and draw a card. If you lock in a gambit die, you gain 1 health. You lock in a fortitude die, gain a gambit. So they got a lot of good stuff on here. And while I've got the card, might as well go over the gambit abilities. You have 4 different abilities. 2 of them are dice abilities. When you lock in a gambit die, you can spend it to do these abilities. And 2 are triggered abilities. You can see here, after a unit gains or loses 1 health, you can spend 1 gambit, and that's from the rows down here. 1 gambit to flip its leader's tile. So after the leader activates a tile's triggered event, you can spend 2 gambit to destroy 1 of their cards. So it's pretty good abilities. They're the triggered abilities. You got the ones where you can spend the dice right here. I could spend a gambit die to warp an enemy pawn, which is out of your reach, to an active tile in reach. So that kind of helps a little bit, move your enemy closer. Or I could spend a gambit die to use the leaf event on up to all inactive tiles, gain 1 gambit per tile replaced. So a couple good abilities there. I've got my, 00 here to keep track of my points, and I've got my other numbers there. I think we're all set up. I think there's one thing that I am forgetting. Yes. We all start off with our, whenever we choose your playmat, I forgot this, let me put the tokens back on here. You start off with 1 gambit in the first spot, right there. So everybody starts off with 1 gambit, and in the beginning of the first turn, everybody will gain a gambit at the beginning of the first round, and then you'll gain some during the turn, depending on what's going on. Okay, now that setup's done, other than deployment, we're gonna go ahead and switch around, and we'll get this game going. So a couple of things before we get to deployment that I forgot during the setup. Your tile stacks initially are face down when you place your tile. After you place your starting tile, you shuffle up the stacks and then you flip them over face up, as you can see that Gothy and I have here. Because whenever you move and you place new tiles from the different stacks, you'll actually see which next tile is coming up. You can see I've got Imperial Shuttle coming up. Gothy has Serpent Tunnels coming up, and they've got their different abilities on there, which if we move tiles, we'll go over their different abilities. We actually played a game where we just stayed on our starting tiles the whole time. We didn't place any new tiles. We didn't move at all. So we just, beat each other up from these tiles right here. Also, I wanted to say that during your initial draw, whenever you draw your 5 cards, you do have a chance of mulliganing if you don't like your hand, which both Gothy and I did afterwards. She reminded me about that in between switching the camera setup. I discarded 3 of my cards and drew 3 new cards. She discarded a couple cards and drew some. You're allowed, when you mulligan, you can discard up to and including your entire hand, and then draw that many cards, however many you discarded. So I now have a different hand. I've got 3 different units, and I've got 2 abilities right here. Whenever I play them, we'll go through that. Okay, so for deployment, you get 3 tied dice to do your deployment on the beginning of the game, and it's going to go in turn order. So I'll get 3 tied dice, and then once I'm done deploying, Gothy will get 3 tied dice. She's mocking me over there. So I'll put them on my sheet right now. And when you deploy, if you can see the rule book, you get to use your standard dice actions, basically. And since they're tied, the standard dice action for tied actions are you can prepare a card from your hand to be played on a future turn by putting it in your timeline area. Remember, your timeline area is the area to the right of your player sheet. It costs 1 to prepare. So no matter what the cost is on the card right here, we can prepare it and put it in the area and count it as prepared for 1 tide. Also, you can play a card from your timeline, but you can only do that if it's been in there from the last turn. So since this is the beginning of the game, we really can't put any out there straight from the timeline. We put stuff in the timeline. Also, you can spend Tide to play cards from your hand if you want to, straight from your hand rather than preparing them, which is sometimes what you do with your units. You're going to play them straight to the board. Some units actually have a prepared ability. You can see right here, where if it's prepared in the timeline, it actually has something going on, like this one right here, Sky Sweeper, so that other cards in this timeline are immune to destruction by enemies. So depending on where we want to go, what we want to do, I'll go ahead and I'll take a look and I'll let you guys know. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to spend, because I'm going to play Agent of Diva right here. It costs 1 Tide to play right there. And it says, when this unit reaches 0 health, you got to make a Tide check to prepare 1 card from your deck, or 2 if I'm in a tile with the little eyeball symbol right there. So I'm going to go ahead and play this out. It costs 1. You see, when I play it out, it's going to increase my power ability by 1, since there's 1 power symbol there, but it only has 1 health. So I'll go ahead, I'll pay 1 Tide, so I'll take it from there, put it back in the general pile right there, put it up in my group section right here, because I'm actually playing it from my hand. I'm not preparing it in my timeline. I'll go ahead and put its 1 health on it, and I will raise my power ability up 1 there. So now I've got access to both those levels, level 1 and level 2. I'll see another card in my hand right here. I'm going to go ahead and pay 1, because remember, when you put stuff in the timeline, it only costs 1 Tide to put it in the timeline. And then when you play it from your timeline, either to activate the ability or to, if it's a unit, to put it in play in your group, it costs 1 to come out. So I'm going to pay 1 Tide to prepare that Sky Sweeper that I showed you earlier. And when it's prepared, other cards in the timeline are immune to destruction by enemies, so she won't be able to blow up any of my stuff. So it actually will go right there in my prepared section. Now, I don't get the green Fortitude symbol right there, and I don't put health on it because it's not in the group. It's only in my timeline. So we're going to put it right there. And I've got 1 Tide left, which I think I'll use to play this Nano Swarm Replicant right here. It costs 1 Tide to come into play. So this unit gains the printed attributes and abilities of the unit to its left, and it only has 1 health, but it doesn't increase my abilities any, my Tide, my Tide power or Fortitude. So I'll pay that 1. I'll put it there, and it gains the printed abilities to the left. So if this one were to die, I also have the ability, like I have it on Agent Diva on that card right there. Whatever, if it reaches 0 health, I can make a Tide check to prepare 1 card from my deck, or 2 if I'm on the tile with an eye symbol. So I'll put the 1 health there. Now let me explain, when you make a check, if you have to make a power check, a Tide check, or a Fortitude check, as some say, what you're going to do is, depending on where your little counter is here on your ability track, you're going to roll that many dice. Like if I had to make a power check right now, my token is on the second one right here. So I'd roll 2 dice, and I want to try to get at least 1 power symbol. So I'm making a power check. Power symbols are the red throwing stars. Oh, no, I got a Fortitude and a Gambit, so I didn't pass the power check. So different stuff calls for different checks. We'll see how this game goes. So I'm done with my deployment. So now it's going to be Gothy's deployment. She gets her 3 Tide for deployment right there.
One. That does the effect.
I'm pretty sure they do, since we're doing deployment. Yeah, all the stuff actually happens. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so she's paying 1 to play Dragon Fist Monk right here. It costs 1 to play. It's going to increase her power, and it has 1 health. But it has this printed ability right here that says, after this unit is placed in your group, deal -1 health to up to all units in a group. And then it also has an extra ability if she chose to pay a power while playing it. So she can heal +1 health to this unit per -1 health dealt. So I'm seeing where she's doing this. She's doing this to all the units in a group. So I'm guessing she's going to go ahead. She paid her 1. She's going to put into play. She's going to give -1 to all my guys in my group right here. So there, that was great choice for my deployment right there. Okay, let's go to my discard right here. Okay, which one is that?
Inferno Weaver. After a leader blocks you, I guess the power to deal -1 health to their group. This is a fated if your tile is greater than your target's.
Yeah, because I don't think I've seen that one before. Yeah, Inferno Weaver. Yeah, after a leader blocks you, you do a power check to deal -1 health to their group. This is fated if your influence is greater than your target's. So fated means that basically it can't be destroyed, right?
Like can't be canceled out.
Yeah, it can't be canceled out like whenever you're playing it. It can't be damaged. So it's fated if your influence is greater than your target's. So she's going to increase her power by 1, and it has 1 health right there. So now her power level is actually at 3. So she's got +1 lock. So she can lock in 1 extra dice. And we'll go over that whenever we get to the dice actions, when we start rolling dice. She got 1 more tide.
I guess I just put this one.
And she's going to prepare. Does it have any prepare abilities or anything?
I don't think so.
No. Oh, it's the same one as this one, the Dragon Fist Mark. Okay, so she's preparing it over there for 1 in her timeline for later on. Okay. So now that we are done with deployment, we're going to go to the turn, so we start the actual game. We'll put our counter from 0. We'll switch it to 1 to signify the first round right here. Okay, and turn order, it starts out with me, and then Gothy goes after me. So start phases, if it's the first turn in a round, everybody gets 1 gambit at the beginning of the start phase, and we're able to use any abilities if we like, leader abilities, any other abilities that we have, which at the beginning of the game isn't really too many. A lot of them are the triggered ability. Something has to happen before you do it. So then it's the action roll phase. In the action roll phase, you take 5 of the dice, and you roll them, and you're going to be able to lock in 3 of them for the die results. Now, the dice have different things that they can do. Like I was saying I explained the tide actions. But the power actions, which are the red ninja star symbol right there, the power actions, you can spend 1 of the dice to deal 1 damage, which is -1 health, to a target group in your reach. You have to have a clear path of 3 active tiles between you or your token and the other player's token to be able to do it. Walls don't count inactive tiles. You got to be able to actually go through the path to get to them. You use the roll a power check. If you pass, you can, spend it to roll a power check. If you pass, you destroy a target card in the leader in reach, or you can steal 1 gambit token from the target leader in reach that has no units in their group. So different stuff you can do with them. Fortitude, which are the green symbols right here. The Fortitude, you can spend 1 to move up 2 spaces. You can't move in a direction with the walls in your path, obviously. You can use it to warp a rift tile, which we'll explain later. Or you can use it to flip over an active tile that's within your reach. And any leader that's on that tile will be force moved to a closer tile. But remember, your tokens cannot be on the same tile with another leader's token. So, what's the other symbols we got here? We've got the Gambit symbol right there, which you can use to activate 1 of your unique abilities on your leader card. Remember, there's 2 per card. And we've got the star symbol right here. It's a purple star symbol. You can barely see it against that black background. But this is used as any die result. So if that comes out and you lock it in, you can use it as any one that you want. There's also the circle on here, which the different abilities on your card, like right now, starting at the beginning of the game, you can use this, you can transform it into a tide for right now, which is a level 1 tide ability. So I'm going to go ahead and roll my 5 dice, and then you can use your different abilities to kind of manipulate the dice. So we'll move these 3 off the table right here, depending on what I want to do. I have no units in my group since Gothy decided to blow them up.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. So let's see. I'm gonna lock in tide dice by putting it on my sheet. So lock one in there. I'm going to lock in a power die. So when you lock in a power die, see, since my red token for power is on my second power level ability, if I lock in a power die, I get to draw a card. So I will draw that card right now. So I lock that die in. You can give me an extra card over there. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to lock in one of the purple stars, which can be used as anything. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to use it for, but I'm going to go ahead and lock that in. So I locked in 3 of the dice. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and use these. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pay that 1 tide right here to go ahead and play this from my timeline to the units. It's my Sky Sweeper. It's immune to enemy abilities. And since it was prepared, other cards on my timeline were immune to destruction by enemies, but I didn't have any other ones. So it's going to go here. Show the card real quick again. I have a green Fortitude symbol, so I'll move my Fortitude up 1 level, and it's got 1 health right there. So 1 health. Fortitude goes up 1 right there. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to spend my power die right here to deal 1 damage to a target group within my reach. So since she is, well, you count your own tile, 1, 2, 3, so reach is 3 tiles away. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and destroy this one right here. So we'll deal 1 damage to it. So that's enough to kill it right there. Let me look at the other stuff in my hand. And then I'm going to use this, since I can use it in any die result, the purple one, I'm going to use it as a tide to go ahead and prepare. I'm going to go ahead and place this into my timeline right here. Compliance check. I can steal a unit from another group, or I can also pay another tide, or make a tide check. Also steal a card from that leader's hand if they are not in a it's a little circle with arrows in it symbol on the tile. I forget exactly what name that one is. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare that in my timeline right there. So that was my main phase. I went right from action phase to main phase without saying I was doing it. Action roll phase is where I rolled the dice and locked them in, and then it went to the main phase where you spend your dice actions and stuff. And then it's the end phase where anybody can activate any of their ability triggers if they like. You also check for objectives. So, see right here, destroy an enemy card, which I did, I will get 1 point for destroying her card. If I was able to flip their tile, because I would have been able to get 2 points also, because it would have unlocked it once I did that. Since I didn't do that, I'll only have 1 point for this turn. I did play a card using a standard tide action by going over there, spending the blue die to do that. But since that's on the 2, I didn't first activate a gambit ability or action. I don't get those 2 points because I didn't unlock that second ability during this round, or this turn. So I'm just going to get 1 point. So I've got my double zeros here. I'm going to go ahead and replace it. This is how you keep track of your points. with my 1 right there. So I've got 1 point right there. And then if GothyLox wanted to activate any of her guys' gambit abilities or anything. No. Okay. So now, turn order, I'm done, so it goes to GothyLox. So it'll be her turn. At the beginning of the start phase, if anybody has any abilities they want to trigger or do, they can. So she's going to go ahead and roll her dice. She's locking in a gambit.
I get to walk one more, right?
Yeah, so she's got her dice all the way, or her power ability on the 3rd one. She gets actually lock in. She gets a lock-in bonus. Where she gets the... Yeah, you may roll... Oh, no, you still lock in 3, but you get to roll 1 additional dice, but you get to lock in 3. So you roll 6 dice. I don't think we've ever got the 3rd level. Usually this game goes pretty quick because you only play 3 rounds. Yeah, so which was the 5th one that you rolled? Was the idea that one? So you roll 1 more. Instead of 5, you roll 6. So it's another one. But you still only get to lock in 3.
I know. I'm trying to pick out which one.
Sorry. Okay. So she's locked in a gambit, a purple star, and a tide.
So what's that guy? I can't kill him off.
No, you can kill him off. He's just immune to enemy abilities. So any abilities that you have on your cards or anything that would affect him, he's immune to them. Ding. You can still deal him damage by spending a power die.
I'm gonna use my gambit die to discard 1 and destroy a card of equal or less cost. So I'm going to discard this as cost 2.
Okay, so discard to destroy my compliance check. Alright. So, and just to keep track of, we're going to go at the end of the round. She's activated a gambit ability or action. So she's actually unlocked the 1 point here. So she has access to the 2 there. So if she plays a card using a standard tide action, she'll get extra 2 points for a total of 3.
Tide to bring him out.
Okay. So we're prepared into your group.
And that's the one that when he's placed in my group, he deals -1 health up to all units in the group.
Well, too bad this unit is immune to enemies' abilities.
I'm just...
Yeah, I know. But she will, it's the Dragon Fist Monk? Yeah. So she'll up her power by 1 more, and this unit has 1 health. And it's that one that she did at the beginning of the game when she was deploying that blew my stuff up. So now she's on the 4th level of her power ability.
I'm going to use this as a power to attack.
Okay, so deal 1 damage or lose 1 health. Yeah. No, she says to attack because Gothy and I are used to playing a lot of Magic the Gathering, so that's why she tapped the character. Your units technically attack, but you don't signify attacking with stuff. And there are ways to block in this game if you want to. Let me get my little cheat sheet over here. So you can block. You can use any dice spender. You can spend 2 gambit per die, but you have to pass a fortitude check to block. Or for abilities and cards, that's any dice. If she spent any dice to do it, which she did, she used 1 die as a power. But any abilities and cards, let's say I wanted to block that ability, if this wasn't immune, and I wanted to block that ability on the card to give my units -1, I could spend 1 gambit per token or cost and have to pass a fortitude check. And basically, I explained fortitude checks and all the different checks earlier. And that's another way you spend your gambit that you have on your sheets. Here, I'm not going to spend anything since I don't have to. She's, yeah. Oh, decisions. I had plans for gambits next turn. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let you kill her. You always kill off all my stuff. Okay, so she spent the power die to make my guy lose 1 health. Right there. Alright, so he's gonna go ahead and go into my discard pile. This game is not looking too good. Okay.
I get points.
Yes, I know you get points. Now that's the end of her main round, so now we go to the end of the turn. She'll get her objective points. We can trigger any leader abilities and stuff like that we'd like to do. So we're gonna go ahead. So she gets 1 for activating a Gambit ability, and then she gets 2 for playing a card with the standard tide action. So she'll get 3 points, and then also she destroyed an enemy card right there. Wait, does that count as destroying? I don't know if it counts. No. Okay, so she destroyed an enemy card right there.
It says
Yeah, it says in the card destroyed. Yeah, so she gets 4 points total. 1 for that one, 2 for there for unlocking it, and then 1 for destroying right there. So far at the end of the turn, it is 4 points Gothy, 1 point me. This doesn't look too good. Different things that you should need to know, possibly, is that there's an order of activation whenever you're doing different stuff. We went through steps with it. It usually becomes second nature. I mean, Gothy been playing a couple games of this, so you already know where you target first and then you pay the stuff. It's all pretty simple. It's all pretty good. The game it's a really good game. So go ahead and check it out on Kickstarter. We'll get to our good, bad, and ugly review. I know we only played 1 round, but I see by my camera's timer the video is almost done. So let's go ahead and get to the good, bad, and ugly review. I'm going to concede this game to Gothy since she's up by 3 points at just the end of the first turn. We would actually, at the end of this round, since she already got her points, we would check if we triggered any abilities. No, anybody gets to do anything else. We don't have any triggered abilities. If this is the end of the round, we check to see if it's the last round. Anything else, if it was, we would total up. Since it's only the end of the first round, we would redo our turn order based on our influence, which hasn't changed. So the turn order for next round is going to be exactly the same, myself, then GothyLox. And then we switch it to round 2. And then we'd start over again with a start phase where we would each earn 1 Gambit on our card and be able to go from there. So now we'll get to the good, bad, and ugly review.
Okay. Now the good for Infinities is that it's a really interesting concept. The backstories are really good for the different factions. I wish we would have had a chance to show them to you in the book, but you'll see whenever the Kickstarter goes live on February 20th of this year that you'll be able probably to read a digital copy of the rule book. You'll be able to see it on the Kickstarter. It's a really interesting concept. It's really great. The gameplay is really nice. I enjoyed it. The bad for the game is that sometimes the abbreviations of the symbols are a little hard to decipher. I know you got the little rule sheet that they have. We had a little paper one because something happened with the printing of the actual cards before they were able to send the prototype to us, so they weren't actually able to fit everything on it. But it should be fixed in the Kickstarter. There's a couple of things that weren't on the sheet that we had to look up in the rule book, like the bottom level for the first level for the power, and for the fortitude, it says you can spend any die to 2 and then an up symbol. The up symbol wasn't on the card, but when we looked at the rulebook, we found it meaning to draw 2 cards. The ugly is sometimes there's so much going on in the game that you forget different stuff. Like as you can see in our playthrough, we didn't activate any of the tile abilities, and sometimes we didn't activate any of our abilities on our play mats. I know Gothy had a little bit of trouble with that, remembering everything. There's so much going on in the game, but it all works together. But sometimes it can be a little hard to remember everything. But I'm pretty sure with a little bit of time, a little bit of learning, it actually becomes like second nature. But sometimes it's just too much in the game. As you can see, the game has already flown off our shelf to the next reviewer. So we'll see you next time. Go ahead and tune in. We'll put a link to the description to the Kickstarter when it goes live, February 20th, for Infinities, Defiance of Fate. Thank you for watching. Happy gaming.